one day we were in Ville de France. We were short, actually Marseille, sorry. We were short of eggs. And, I went to Carrefour, to the supermarket, and I bought, almost 5,000 eggs, which is quite an experience. This ship in 2002 was the largest ship in the world. Right now we're carrying about 3,700 passengers and 1,200 crew. So we got 5,000 people on board to feed. Obviously, one of the main things when you're in a ship, you cannot go out and buy something if you don't have it. We produce all the bread on board. So you're producing bread for about 5,000 people. And we do this every day, 7 days a week, all year round. Obviously, one of the main things when you're in a ship, you cannot go out and buy something if you don't have it. Right. So the planning, and especially for a ship this size, I've worked in smaller ships, but I mean, you got to think this ship in 2002 was the largest ship in the world. Right now we're carrying about 3,700 passengers and 1,200 crew. So we got 5,000 people on board to feed, basically on a 24-hour basis. Just to give you an idea of figures, we go through about 105, 106 tons of food every 4 to 5 days. In terms of our production, I mean, you got to look at, for example, the dining room. I mean, I did a lot of banqueting in my life, and for me, a big function before was 500, 600 people. Here, we're basically doing a function for 3,400 people. We do 2 sittings, and the main dining room sits 850 people. There's few restaurants or even banqueting venues that can hold, and we do this every day, 7 days a week, all year round. Because it's not easy. We could get a lot of guests ask me this. Well, why don't we buy more local products? And we would love to be able to do that, but it's hard to go to. There's very few suppliers in Europe that can actually supply an operation this size. I mean, when you look at our consumption, as an example, potatoes. Just for mashed potato alone, we use 1,400 pounds of potatoes every day for mash, and so. A veg supplier, even a supplier for a hotel, is not big enough for our operation. I mean, because we cannot just buy for 1 day. We have to buy for 4 or 5 days. So when you tell them you need, 10 tons of potatoes, it throws out all of their capability to supply us. Especially in the Windjammer, which is, as you know, the buffet. There, we actually adjust according to our nationality count, like our core count. Right now, we have a lot of Italians on board. It's almost 2,000. So it's about 70% of the ship. So what we do is we actually increased our pasta, we increased our Italian cold cuts. So on our normal Caribbean cruises, we go, say, in Windjammer through about maybe 80 pounds of pasta for our lunch. With the Italians now, we go through about 500 pounds. So imagine the change. Prior to this, we were in the Spanish season, so we were more into Spanish food. Later on, we get more into the British, where our British count goes up, and we adjust our menus according to that. We actually have two ports because of the route that we do, where we do loadings. One is Barcelona, that's our main one, and we do there what we call like a 9-day loading, and it's usually dry goods and frozen, then and fresh produce. Then in Civitavecchia, which is actually our turnaround port, that's where we do our top-up loading. The thing is, we have products coming from all over the world. Everything, or all of our core products are concentrated usually in Holland, and then they're sent by container. And basically the way it works, it's also a lot of numbers. We have the first sitting, then we sit down, we have a meeting with the CDPs, the chef de parties. We look at the consumption, and then we say, okay, we're going to increase in this. And we have an advantage versus banqueting that we actually cook a lot of the stuff right before the meal is actually served. I have a butcher, I call the butcher. Like yesterday we had a rack of lamb, and it was very popular. So on the second sitting, I called the butcher and I said, listen, I need you to get me another 100 racks. And then so he brings it up, the roast cook starts slowly roasting them. We have 1 hour to change. Where we run into problems, like when we had the Venetian Fist, lamb shanks. You know, that's not something you can cook in an hour. So we always go over par on that. We have a thing which is called a meal count. On every deck, a person is actually sitting with a computer, and they're actually writing down all of the tickets that are coming down. Obviously, they cannot, not in like in a restaurant where a person can go to a POS and enter it. You know, here we're talking about maybe 150 waiters. So basically, the ticket is done manually, and it's handed into this person who enters the information. And we analyze, you know, what actually was ordered versus what we produce. And we do adjustments based on that. And it also happens during service. I mean, like I know, say for example, I have produced for the first sitting 700 shrimp cocktails. But when the numbers start coming in, I see that halfway through the appetizers, maybe we consume maybe 500. So I will call the pantry and I said, increase by another 100, 150. So we don't run out. And then second sitting, we do the same thing. Obviously, we have parts of the kitchen that never close. To me, one of the most interesting things of our kitchen operation here is the bakery, because we have 7 people owning the bakery. It works 2 shifts, 24 hours a day, and you know, we produce all the bread on board except for burger buns and hot dog buns. And when you think about it, that we're producing apart from the guests for the crew, so you're producing bread for about 5,000 people, and the breads for dinner, they change every day. There's different breads. The breads for the specialty restaurants, then you know they're making croissants, they're making pastries, and it's to me, even after working here for over a year, it's still the one thing that really amazes me, how they do it. Because you go in there, they have one machine which is a dough divider, and it does I think 24 balls, but then they got the mixers, they cut the dough, they weigh it, then you know it's still the old-fashioned way. The machine might cut it, but you got to put it in trays, you got to dust it, say with seeds, if it's a seeded roll, then you got to put it in the proofer, put it out and cook it, and this is going on 24 hours. I mean, our bread production is massive. Because we have a standard in the company, and we have a lot of actually controls in place to ensure quality, starting from the management. I mean, there's 3 executive sous chefs, and there's 3 sous chefs, and then CDPs. I mean, you gotta understand our galley operation here, galley or kitchen, like you would say on land. It's with the utilities which help us out. It's 230 people. So you know, I mean, the largest hotel I've worked in, we had 85 people, and it was considered actually quite large operation. So here we have a series of checks. We do a tasting right before the dinner, about 1 hour before the dinner. Each CDP, each section head brings in the dish from their section, and also the pastry people, they bring the desserts, and we sit with all of them, and all the basically seniors. We taste the food, and we make adjustments before it actually is prepared. If we don't like it, even if it's been like it's happened before, like the cold appetizer, we don't feel it's been properly done, and this has already been pre-plated because it's a cold appetizer, we will actually tell them they have to do it again. The company maintains the USPH guidelines, and they're actually quite strict. So we have 2 types of control on the ship. One is time, and the other one is temperature. Temperature control, or obviously you have things, you know, that you keep 41 degrees or below, and you can hold them. But anything that's been out of temperature, like something that's hot or cold, after 4 hours we discard from production. When we receive our food, all temperatures are taken. Then we have like an unpacking room, which is for the fruits and vegetables, and everything goes in there before it goes up to even to our kitchen for preparation, and it's washed and sanitized. We're not allowed to bring up any cardboard up in the galley because there could be insect eggs there. Then we have a meat room for thawing the meats, and then a butcher shop where they do all the meat preparation, and nothing goes up to the galley unless it's ready to be cooked. There's actually no preparation of any raw products. The same thing with the fish and the seafood. Special needs foods, we have, when people book their cruise, there's a special request form that they can do. Some people fill it out, some people don't. Normally I know in advance, like if you have people that are gluten-free or have allergies, or have special dietary requirements because of religion. Like last cruise we had about 100 people who were kosher, so we increased our count of kosher food, and which is quite difficult, you know, in especially because our ports where we load, you have Barcelona and you have Italy. If we're in England, I can get kosher food like this. We've had people from India that are Jen, and they or Jane, I think I believe it's called. And for example, they don't eat any root vegetables, and it has to do with the fact that if you kill the root, you kill the plant. And so we prepare in advance, and we have always food when we have Jain people on board that they can have. Same thing with celiac or anybody with any type of allergy. We always try and accommodate. I've been on ships now for 3 years, and I tell you, it's been an absolutely fantastic experience.